Geek Out! You wanted the best. You got me instead. That's right. It's another episode of Kiss My Podcast. Today we're going to be talking all about Metallica's Hardwired to Self-Destruct. No, I wish. I fucking wish. We're talking about 1984's Animalize. And with us for what, like your third time? Fourth time?
This is the third installment on this. Because I did Destroyer and I did the solo album.
That's right. Yeah. Young Samuel is back. Welcome back, Samuel.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thanks for taking this bullet. So...
I have a theory behind that.
Yeah?
So, as a bit of backstory, and this is my theory why I'm here for Animalize. I've got a cousin in Brooklyn that's a music producer, very extensive vinyl record collection.
Yeah.
And I always teased him because he doesn't, unless he's picked it up since the last time I've been there, he never had Animalize by Kiss. And I'd be
smart
like,
man.
I'd always be like, well, you don't have Animalize by Kiss, and I remember you had heard that anecdote, and you're like, "Oh, you know, Animalize exists."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was it. Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, I mean, he's a smart man, and keeping all of his music education from not listening to this album. And again, 1984's Animalize. Couple quick things, couple quick notes, like we always do, ladies and gentlemen. Released September 30th, 1984. Recorded from May to July of the same year, and recorded in the Right Track Studios, New York. New York band through and through. Produced by Mr. Paul Stanley. Yeah, he is kind of like, this is the beginning of basically the Paul Stanley Show, which is weird because Gene plays a lot on this, but it is kind of the beginning of the Paul Stanley Show. 2 singles, Heaven's on Fire, September 19th, 1984, just, a couple days after the release of the album, and Thrills in the Night, January 13th, 1985. So a little bit of where we are in history here. At this point, Gene is focusing on acting and producing mostly here. Like I said, it's basically starting to become the Paul Stanley Show, and something that he would resent Gene for a while, because he's got to take the reins of this thing. Basically him and Gene are they are the only original members left. We do get a new member alert, Signal the God, Mark St. John. So it's a real quick addition and departure for Mark St. John, because obviously he's replacing Vinnie Vincent, but he's out of the band by November of 1984 for the Animalize tour. It's not officially until I think December 8th. Yeah, December 8th of 1984, where Bruce fucking Kulick is the official guitarist and stays that way for a while. One of my favorite members of Kiss. I'm very excited that he was going to start playing heavily into the show. And one of the reasons, basically the main reason Mark St. John left is because he had writer's syndrome. Writer's syndrome? A form of arthritis that would swell up your hands, different joints to extreme pain, and he couldn't play guitar because of it. Also, supposedly he didn't get along that well with the band. He supposedly had some hard times playing the same thing twice and working on the solos. And there's a couple solos that we'll talk about in here that are not played by him, instead by Bruce Kulick. So, again, we got Bruce Kulick in the band. Basically, by the time this album is still, hot off the press, he's basically the new guitarist after Mark St. John. And unfortunately, Mark St. John, passed away in 2007, which is unfortunate, in April of 2007, April 5th to be exact. One of the interesting things about Gene, though, producing, is he produces a band called Black and Blue. And one of the members of that band is Tommy Thayer. So we're going to let that hang there for a while.
For about 10 years.
Yeah. So Tommy Thayer, who we're definitely
closer to 15 now that I think
we're definitely going to be talking about later. So that's kind of the beginning of that relationship simmering off in the corner there. But basically the overall thing is it's not a fun time to be in Kiss. Lick It Up's kind of come and gone. The whole gimmick, so to speak, reverse gimmick of taking off the makeup has come and gone, and now it's like, okay, well now you release your fucking music, play some albums, and let's kick ass. And this is a huge backstep, in my opinion. Big backstep. It's not as big of a failure as say like Music from the Elder, because Music from the Elder is such a fucking weird choice on all fronts. This is just uninspired.
Yeah, I think it's a competently put together album, whereas you can't necessarily
it's in tune.
Yeah, but there is what I get, the effect I get from listening to Animalize, and now I can tell my cousin Sam up in Brooklyn I've listened to Animalize from top to bottom, and now congratulate him for not having it in his vinyl collection, unless he's since added it.
Well, it's also one of the reasons it's a stupid fucking cover.
Yeah, just the animal skins.
Yeah, dumb.
Yeah, and I think Paul Stanley was like, everyone was going too like smooth and too produced. I wanted to bring something back to its raw roots. I wanted to animalize
and
it.
This is one of the most generic sounding albums they ever put out.
It is, and I always said that Kiss kind of fits. Like, they really inspired the hair metal movement, if you think about it. Like, they produce like Van Halen, and I think you can see a lot of that influence with Van Halen. You can see a lot of Kiss influence with, say, Motley Crue, Rat, a lot of bands of that era. Thing is, once they get into the 80s, they can't. I think this album is a lot of them like saying like, hey, we can do that.
Yeah.
You know, they're probably hanging out in like on the Strip in Los Angeles because that's like the height of it, like at the Roxy and stuff. And they're like probably seeing these bands, these hair metal bands, Twisted Sister and all that. And they're like, we can fucking do that. And then this is their attempt.
Yeah, they're evolving in the wrong way. Like, they're seeing this new thing happen. They did it with, disco and Kisco and stuff, and it worked for that, and actually was okay, and I like it. But this, hair metal is the worst fucking thing on the planet. I hate hair metal more than anything else in the planet, more than any genre of music. It's the worst thing. And so, like Sam was saying, this is very much them saying, we can play in that sandbox. And it's like Kiss fans are going, get the fuck out of there. What are you doing? And unfortunately, they kind of ride this train for a while. Because, Lick It Up obviously very much has those elements in there, but I think Lick It Up is a much better album. That's me digesting Animalize. I just think Lick It Up is a better produced and it's a better made album, and there's better songs on there too. There's some really great tracks on here. Here, there's nothing for me.
I like the opener.
Yeah, I mean, again, Kiss is a band that writes great openers, but it is an apt title. We're gonna go jump right into it. I've had enough. Into the Fire, because I've had enough by the time I was already listening to this track. Like, and again, full disclosure here, like I said 1 million times, one of the reasons I'm doing this, the Unmasked era here, which I originally wasn't going to do, and I'm kind of wishing I didn't, is
Still
because
get through like Asylum and everything.
Yeah. But like I said, we'll get to Revenge, and I like Psycho Circus, but I'm excited for those two, and Carnival of Souls. But it's that I've never sat and listened to this entire album before. I swear to God, there's a couple of tracks in here I've never heard before. I never heard before this morning, because I just wasn't interested. And I was hoping. And again, yes, there might be that like already predetermined, like fuck this. But that was kind of the case with Lick It Up. I was kind of like, I don't like Unmasked Kiss. I don't want to do this shit. And then there's stuff on Lick It Up I legitimately liked. And like I said, Revenge. Years ago I never gave a chance. And then I was like, shit, this album's fucking great. But this is one that I was proven, in my opinion, of course, in my opinion, my own mind, I was proven right because it doesn't work for me. Written by Paul Stanley, Desmond Child, sung by Paul Stanley. Desmond Child, we've heard from the Kisco era, and is a guy that has written with basically everybody on the planet, including Meatloaf. But yeah, so again, the band is starting really to do that really fucking annoying thing, which is chanting choruses like all the time. Like where it sounds like there's 50 people in a room echoing and they just chant things.
That's something I've noticed with a lot of like hair metal.
It's awful.
Well, the vocals sound like they're recorded like in an empty like just like big open room. Mm-hmm. There's always that almost like slight like echo to it.
Yeah, it's
And this album is basically all the vocals have that effect.
Yeah. I think Paul's got some interesting vocals on here. He goes for it. He's really selling because I guess Paul believes in this when he's doing it because he's really the sole guy. Even though Gene writes and sings a lot of stuff on here. But I think the biggest problem with this album is their identity is starting to slip. All the other stuff, like they had an identity as that, okay, now we're the unmasked band who's going to prove that we can play our instruments and we don't need that gimmick. Well, now that's turning out to be the fact that they don't know what they are anymore. And like I said, the fact that unmasked stuff is gone, it's been a year since, at least they have to do something, and this is not their best foot forward to prove that. And not to calm fans' expectation. They're kind of like questioning like what is going on because I'm sure people when this came out, so I'm sure a lot of fans loved it and they're evolving with that time because like you were saying, I think the theatrics of Kiss helped with hair metal. I don't think the sound of Kiss in the 70s helped with hair metal. I think the look of
they had that bluesy, dirty rock sound.
Well, they I don't think. There are elements in like the later Kiss like 70s, sure, that have that stuff, and lyrically, yes, that idea of it. But the fact that they kind of become this kind of joke thing, and a lot of people might say they were jokes since the beginning. You know, people just always hated Kiss just because they put on makeup.
Yeah, for me, Kiss is the missing link between like Led Zeppelin and Alice Cooper to like Van Halen and Motley Crue.
It's funny because I would say that Led Zeppelin is one of those bands that Robert Plant obviously didn't want to do this, but I think he very much inspired the hair metal cock rock thing. And Led Zeppelin did in a way with some of their stuff. Maybe not lyrically, but more of like the long haired, skin tight, kind of thing. And hell, there are a lot of bands, fucking you could throw up a picture of Roger Daltrey and fucking with Robert Plant and not know, you have to take a double take sometimes, But yeah, again, Kiss is unfortunately instrumental in that evolving into the cock rock thing, which is, like I said, God, it's the fucking worst thing in the world. That's what made me love Nirvana years later. It's like I wasn't a big Nirvana fan in like high school and stuff when everyone else was becoming a Nirvana fan. And the thing that made me like stop and just praise fucking Nirvana to the end of the time, like I will always have Nirvana's back, is that they were the band that put the final coffin.
Or nail in the coffin?
Yeah, put the nail in the coffin for cock rock.
Well, grunge is very much kind of like...
the anti.
Yeah, the antithesis of hair metal, which is why I think it took off so well. Because they, by the early 90s, people were just fucking over it.
Yeah, seriously.
But, what I like about this album opener, it's just fast. It's kind of like, something you would hear in like alternate 1985 and Back to the Future Part 2. And I will say it is kind of come off like as a ripoff of Ozzy Osbourne's Bark at the Moon. Like, listen to the title track from Ozzy Osbourne's Bark at the Moon and listen to the album opener off Animalize, and it's like, oh, yeah, shit.
Bark at the Moon. I never liked 80s Ozzy. I like a lot of people go like fucking hardcore for that. I never got in. I mean, it's a fun title, but I never got into
Mr. Crowley.
I like fucking Ripper Owens, Tim the Ripper Owens version with Yngwie Malmsteen, where he just fucking they're both shredding. Obviously Tim Owens is just screaming. I mean, I like some of the stuff that he does. And of course, Randy Rhoads is a fucking master, of guitar. And every time I see a Jackson Flying V or just Flying V of any kind, I think of Randy Rhoads, being on Ozzy's shoulder, just fucking tapping like crazy. But I just never, I don't know, I wasn't into that Ozzy Osbourne stuff. But you're right. There's a Bark at the Moon kind of thing, and kind of an interesting, weird cover too for that. Much better cover than this one, that's for sure. Anyway, the next track is "Heaven's on Fire," the first single.
I love that Ghost Rider story.
That's right. It's a good one.
I need to ask Jason Aaron's like, hey man, when you wrote that Ghost Rider story, "Heaven's on Fire," was the title from that?
Yeah,
Kiss
were you
song?
thinking of that limp shit Kiss track?
Let me ask him right now.
Yeah, do it. Were you thinking of that limp shit Kiss track with that, whatever?
And this is the lead single.
Yeah, this is the most famous track on the album. It's still play. I guess it's somewhat of a staple still. You get that really weird Paul Stanley opening. And you're like, okay. The video, though, was the only time you get official promotional footage of Mark St. John and the band. And again, chanting choruses, the huge 80s fucking chanting choruses. Again, Kiss didn't invent, but man, they used to perfection on this album. They use a lot on this album. I guess you just have to chant in a room. That's perfection for it. The video is the classic glam video setup where it's a band on a stage, a huge fucking stage, jumping and flailing around, pointing at the camera, and then cutting to them like with girls just all over them. That's kind of the blueprint for the 80s music video. I'm looking at my notes. The last note just says it's crap.
It's kind of like it's an okay song. It's certainly within relative to Animalize. Mm-hmm. But for me, the only song where I'm like, dude, this is okay. It's just
again written by Paul Stanley and Desmond Child, and sung by Paul Stanley. I mean, Desmond Child knows how to write fucking hits, and so does Paul Stanley. I mean, he's been doing it for 10 years at this point. But again, I just know nothing on this album, and I can assure you I love Kiss, but nothing on this album connects with me. And not even the big lead single of "Heaven's on Fire." Again, cool title, and you potentially the reason you get a great Ghost Rider tale, the end of Jason Aaron's run, because of it, with the great Jay Lee covers, just Danny and fucking Johnny, just that crossed arms, staring up, looking at my nostril look. Classic.
Like every Jay Lee cover?
Every Jay Lee cover. I think my favorite is this Black Bolt stuff, though. But next track, Burn Bitch Burn. Written by Gene, sung by Gene. Again, I didn't need to tell you that, though, with a title like this. I will say, because I'm trying to, I feel like I've been nasty. I'm trying to get back into being positive here, because this is a Kiss podcast. That the riff in the beginning of this track could belong in 70s Kiss. It sounds like something you could have got on like an outtake on Destroyer or like God of Thunder or something. Big heavy riff. I dig it. I will say I think the biggest positive on this album is that there's some really cool riffs going on. Gene's got the great vocals on this. Smooth fucking demon vocals, I guess, whatever you want to say. Solid drummer from Sherikar. Yeah, smoky.
There's smoky quality.
Smoky smooth. None of the and Paul and Gene sing together a couple times on this. You can hear it. You can hear Paul's kind of, I mean this as a compliment, the higher shrill kind of thing, and that works together. You know, Paul's got the higher mid to high range, and Gene's got the mid to low stuff, and so it really fits together well. I will say though, there's a fucking lyric in this song. I want to put my log in your fireplace. I'm just gonna let that sit there. Let's just let that marinate for like 5 seconds. Okay.
There's another. We'll get to. I hope it's in your notes about a certain numbered highway.
Oh yeah, that's definitely in there.
Good. I love that.
Oh my lord.
Chestnuts roasting in an open fire.
Put your log in your fireplace. Wait, put your log in my fireplace. Oh shit. Very progressive.
Happy holidays.
Yeah.
This comes out the day after Thanksgiving, the official start of the Christmas season.
Ah, yes. It started with a shit album. A real shit album. I forgot Asylum existed when I was doing research for this. I was like, what do I got next? Oh, shit, I forgot that existed.
Yeah. Do I get to jump right to Revenge? No.
I got Hot in the Shade. Yeah. And crazy nights. All right, next track. Get All You Can Take. I've got it already, but we still got like 5 tracks left. Stanley and Mitch Weissman wrote this together. Sung by Paul Stanley. Interesting fact about Mitch Weissman. Do you know fun, interesting fact about Mitch Weissman?
Probably not.
Original cast member of Beatlemania, and he played Paul McCartney. And he taught himself to play left-handed, bass, and it was, the Broadway show of the Beatles, blah, blah, blah. I did some research on him just because it was interesting. He looked like Paul McCartney back in the day. Met John and Yoko a couple times, and I think Ringo. And I think he said when he met John was like, I know the real one. And he said he stole his cocktail napkin and kept it in his, memorabilia or whatever. Anyway, so we'll hear more from Mitch on a couple tracks on here. He's got worked with all kinds of different studio people here. Mm-hmm. Again, like I said earlier, I do dig the riffs on this track. I think there's really good stuff. Mitch has stated that he plays rhythm guitar on this track. It's not anywhere in the official listing or credits of the album.
Nowhere in the liner notes.
But that doesn't necessarily mean he didn't do it, because you know how Kiss is weird sometimes with their stuff and the holy, sacred, uncredited. But again, it's going his word against Kisses, so I'm just throwing that out there. So if you want to believe it, if you're a big fan of Mitch, or if you're Mitch listening to this, I'm giving you props, for potentially playing rhythm guitar on this one. Again, though, but just kind of the same old, though. There's nothing.
Here's the thing: would this album be better if it had a ballad to throw off the monotony of hair metal?
I feel like Heaven's on Fire is like the closest. There's another track later on that I like a lot more than Heaven's on Fire.
There's not a lot of slower tracks.
There's not, and the problem is it's very much carbon copy, a lot of this, just like the dun 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 mouse dun 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 mouse, and then you get it's just like it's the song's called Hey Missa Massa Ma, by the way. Written by Mitch Weissman.
Happy Hanukkah, kids. 'Tis the season, 8 Crazy Nights.
Yeah, that's right. Whatever. It's I mean, I swear to God, there were some notes. I mean, you can't see them, guys, listening to this. But there are some notes in here that are like there's one that's 2 lines. And I try to be extensive on this because I want to keep it interesting.
But at the same time, it's Animalize.
But yeah, it's Animalize. And look, like I said, it's just one of the reasons I tried to really hold up Lick It Up, because I think Lick It Up is like legitimately a pretty good Kiss album, especially for and not just 80s Kiss. I think it's a fine album, I think it's, and again, like I said, I never,
would you call Lick It Up their best album since Dynasty?
Yeah. I mean, I liked Unmasked. I know a lot of people don't. It's that is a thin fucking album, but I love Two Sides of the Coin. Choose one. And Naked City is ridiculous on there.
Sure.
So I think from a critical standpoint, like it probably, I know a lot of people were like, Crucial Night is fucking way better. But the thing I like about doing this podcast is like I never would have thought that years ago. But now like really like sitting and listening and really doing research and not just listening to it as a fan, but really diving in, trying to take notes and come up with some interesting stuff to tell you guys on here and tell you why or why not I might not like a track. I now think that Lick It Up's a better album than Creatures of the Night, and which is crazy. Crazy Nights. Not there yet though. Lonely is the Hunter. What a fucking weird title.
Another thing that kills me about this album is I feel like not every, but a lot of the songs are about 20 to 30 seconds longer than they should be.
Yeah.
Case in point, Lonely
is the Hunter. Written by Gene, sung by Gene. Generic, boring. Cool thing about this track?
Nothing.
First, no, I will say the coolest thing about the track is the first time we get a lead from a favorite Kiss member of mine, Bruce Kulick.
What do you think of the breakdown?
Fine.
Okay.
Fine.
Where they just kind of like, look at this, we're hitting the same, we're kind of hammer on, pulling off on
noodle
like
shit. No, again, Bruce Kulick is the best thing to come out of this album. No disrespect to Mark St. John. You're a part of the Kisstory, but the best thing for me to come out of this is that you're getting Bruce Kulick, who is a huge part of Kiss, and I'll wait to say that later on another album. Anyway, so sorry, Lonely is the Hunter fans. I don't got much to say about that one. Just a lot of this is coming just generic bullshit. Generic and boring, not bullshit. It's generic and boring. Under the Gun. Paul Stanley. We get Eric Carr, which is always a plus as a co-writer on this. Desmond Child and sung by Paul Stanley. I like the thrashy opening riff. Pretty cool on this. Eric Carr, like I said, anytime Eric Carr is around, I like what he gets credit on here. His drumming on this is decent. It's good. It's fine. I do think that this song though injects some life in the album. We're 6 tracks in of a 9-track album. But I think this injects some life into it. There's a little bit of fast-paced kind of rock and roll going on. And I would probably say this is my favorite track on the album. Because I think it's got some life there. It's got a heartbeat. It's like, the paddles will come out and it's zapped it back up, clear. John Beauvoir plays bass on this track. I'm going to go into more about him later, but he's the guy who plays bass on this track. He helps co-write some stuff with Kiss later on this album. There is a weird spoken word section from Mr. Paul Stanley where he talks about driving 69 miles per hour.
Yeah.
As you do.
As you do.
And that's a Paul Stanley-ism there. That wasn't Gene. I was 69 miles an hour. Good solo, though. Pretty good solo, Mark St. John. But as I said, it's a pretty decent song on a pretty tired and boring album, though. But I think if this song was on any other, this would probably fit pretty well and Lick It Up. I don't know if it'd stand out as well because I was like looking for anything. Just none of the other tracks really feel like it has any kind of like energy going through.
They all bleed together. They
That's
really
true.
do.
Yeah.
It's just like
this is the one I probably needed the notes for the most just to remember some of it because again some of it does kind of just it's just like a blob of one like thing.
Yeah, just a blob of hair metal.
Blob of hair, Jesus! It's a glob of hair gel. That's like been zapped in the flubber life.
Yeah.
Thrills in the Night is the next track, folks. Written by Paul Stanley and John Beauvoir. Sung by Paul Stanley. So again, talking about Jean, this is the second single released. He played bass in the previous track, like I said. And like you said, he helps write this. He's known for his work. He's worked with the Ramones, Miami Steve Van Zandt, and NSYNC. He's got a pretty wide range career, still around today, and still working. So he's been around for a long time, and he's recorded 6 solo albums. So the guy, Kiss is, they always bring in some really interesting people, some really cool guys that I've never really known about, that I've learned, doing the research here, that are kind of like the backbone of the music industry. Like they're session musicians that work their ass off. They're producers. They're songwriters. They don't get enough credit, and they really kind of work all through all these different bands. There's a bunch of people we've talked about. Everyone from George Harrison, Jimi Hendrix, all these other bands that people have worked with. And it's pretty amazing. So they find these kind of interesting people to help them out here. The video for this track is the first to show Bruce Kulick as officially as a member of Kiss, which is cool. Again, anything Bruce Kulick is cool with me. Of course, we heard a lot from his brother Bob, playing earlier on with Kiss. The Kulicks being instrumental to Kiss, definitely instrumental to Kiss. The chorus is cool. I dig the chorus to it. I think it's a pretty catchy track. Chanting vocals, of course. I don't even have to say it anymore, but I don't know. Do you have anything to say about Thrills in the Night? No. Does it thrill you, Samuel?
I mean, it kind of has that dirty rock hair metal kind of feel. If you've heard, I'm trying to think there's a lot of the opening track. If the opening track is them trying to channel Ozzy Osbourne, I would say the majority of the rest of the album is them trying to channel Van Halen, Motley Crue, and honestly 80s era Aerosmith. And I think you kind of get that here. Yeah,
there's elements of that for sure.
The last track is very Aerosmithy, but we'll get there.
Yeah, really well. So yeah. While the City Sleeps, written by Paul Stanley and Mitch Weissman again, written by Gene Simmons and Mitch Weissman, and sung by Gene Simmons.
At this point, Paul Stanley's lost Donna Dixon to Dan Aykroyd. Fun fact.
Yeah, no more Thrills in the Night, Paul Stanley. Generic 80s rock, another weak track. That's my note for this one. Sorry, guys. I at this point, my sitting there listening to it, I'm like, what? I mean, there was a couple times where I was doing the notes, doing research, finding out, who plays the blah, 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 blah. The song had ended, and I realized I was on another track, and I didn't remember a single thing about the previous track,
Yeah, that happened, to me, basically with the whole album.
Yeah, so, while the city sleeps, while we sleep, listening to this album, let's jump to the last track, Samuel. Well, I mean, that's the next one.
Yeah,
we're not going to skip any here, but Murder in High Heels.
Murder in High Heels, very very kind of 80s.
Cool title.
Yeah. I mean, the titles are fine.
Yeah.
Thrills in the Night, but the no, it's very Aerosmithy. It kind of has that kind of Joe Perry kind of almost stuttering guitar.
Doesn't
riff.
Joe Perry kind of look like Stallone's weirder brother?
He could be a Stallone. He could also, honestly, he could be a Kulick or a Thayer.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He could. I mean, if Tommy Thayer, Bruce Kulick, and Joe Perry formed a trio,
it would be
just an acoustic guitar trio. It'd be
Faces.
Yeah, you'd be they're all the same.
Yeah,
they're all the fucking same.
I would. Yeah, I guess Faces is taken by Rod Stewart, but it would be. It's that kind of.
I do think, if I remember correctly, I didn't write it down.
If I ever saw Joe Perry, I'd be like, why so long in the face? And then security would escort me out after kicking the shit out of me.
Yeah. And Joe Perry would grow another gray streak in his hair. Like, God damn it!
Play with the Hollywood Vampires with Johnny Depp and who's else in the... Is it Keith Richards that's in the...
No.
It's Alice Cooper? I feel like it's Alice.
I know,
Cooper.
He's got a thing with Iggy too. He's jammed with Iggy before. And
he
stuff.
has though. That's mostly Josh Homme.
Okay.
For post-pop depression.
They all wear that bullshit that I feel like would be really annoying to play live, where they have really long dangly jewelry that clangs, and then
and this weird scarf.
Yeah, the scarf, the long blazer, and the rolled up blazer sleeves, and it always keeps falling down, and it seems so uncomfortable.
Sometimes they just have the vest.
Yeah,
the sleeveless vest,
and they always look like they're moving really slow because they move too fast, they'll hurt themselves, kind of thing.
Well, I mean, fucking the man, Joe Perry. Joe Perry, didn't he pass out backstage between songs of the Hollywood Vampire show?
Hopefully he's doing all right. Because all joking aside, I do love Joe Perry.
Aerosmith.
They're ending.
I would be willing to see the farewell tour.
Yeah,
of Aerosmith.
me too.
Yeah.
I've got a job recently I could start making a little bit more money. Not like I'm fucking making a lot of money, but a little more money where I can start thinking about really trying to go to shows again, which is something I really want to do. And I've been mad at myself that I haven't really done a lot lately. like it was the 5th anniversary of the Foo Fighters 11-11-11 show, recently.
Yes.
That we were all at, I think.
Yes.
Chris. Yes, we were all at. I'm just looking. Yeah, I just figured. I think he was. But
he was.
Good.
The 11-11 Foo Fighters show.
Yeah, you were there, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry, I thought I didn't realize you were listening to something. He's masturbating on the bed. But
and then so are we.
Yeah, we're all in the bed.
Thrills in the night.
Yeah. Oh shit.
Heaven's on fire. Geek Out's on fire.
Yeah, Geek Out's on fire. Yeah. Was gonna say that. Oh yeah, I would love to see Aerosmith live. I'm planning on seeing Roger Waters next August. As soon as Metallica.
Would you see the Who live?
Oh yeah, it's funny because like I might have even said it on a podcast. Like I was just like, why it was like the Who's only got 2 people left. Like they don't seem like they're having fun. Like blah blah blah.
To be fair, so does Kiss.
Yeah, but like Kiss is like still doing like doing the thing and like. But like of course the Who thing, my kicks. It's not even a kick. It's just like an addiction. It's been going crazy with the Who, and I was like, I would love to see the Who live. I just want to see them play fucking Bob O'Reilly live. Like, that would be enough just to see that, because I know that like Pete Townsend. There was a article recently where he was like, I don't like performing live, and people are like, what the fuck, dude? I was like, dude, he's been saying this since the '60s. You know what I mean? And I think that's a front too. That's a front he's putting on, because there are times you'll see him.
He's
playing.
always the curmudgeon.
Sure, there are times where he's playing, he's having a fucking ball. You know what I mean? But yeah, the Who definitely. But like I said, Metallica, releasing Hardware to Self-Destruct, and that band, fucking, they're war horses, dude. They will tour. I mean, they toured for like 2 years straight once for the Black Album. Fucking amazing. And they're not playing.
Almost killed Jason by the end.
Yeah, they're not playing easy music either, and they're not getting any younger, but they still fucking kick ass. I made that little joke that this whole thing's gonna be about Hardwired to Self-Destruct, but it's a fucking astounding, wonderful, awesome Metallica album. I hope that when they come around, I get to see them live, because oh my god, that album's great.
Every picture I've seen of Lars in promotion for that album has just been. I mean, it's Lars.
Oh, wearing the beanie with the beard,
yeah,
and just wearing black.
Yeah. He's aware of his own reputation, I think.
Oh yeah. But the thing is that like they wouldn't be Metallica without his drumming. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's maybe not the best drummer in the world, but he's the best drummer.
I will say though, he puts in a fucking pretty great performance on Hardwired to Self-Destruct. It's very people like to say what the album sounds like. Previous stuff, and everyone's always talking about the missing link from Justice to the Black Album. I don't think this is it. I don't know what that would even be really. People are saying with Death Magnetic, but it's definitely. Got a lot of time changes, signatures. They got some 6, 7, 8 minute tracks on here, very Justice-like. So Lars, keeping it going. There's some really cool stuff in there. Anyway, though, I would love to see. There's a couple of bands that trying to see, and Aerosmith like being one of those. I have a lot more bands on my radar. Like I would love to see them live, just to see some of their stuff like Toys. I doubt they play anything from Just Push Play. Just Push Play, fucking play Just Push Play, Beyond Beautiful from Just Push Play. But because I
they escort you out too.
Yeah, I beat you. Hey Sam, I legitimately love that album, and of course Toys in the Attic. But anyway, let's finish this so we can talk about other things. Murder in High Heels, like I said, written by Gene Simmons and Mitch Weissman, and sung by Gene Simmons. Cool riff to start the track. Like like I said, the pro to a lot of the stuff on here. You got some really cool riffage in here. The riff kind of hops all over the place, dancing all over the strings. I like that. It's cool. You get Bruce Kulick on lead on this. Sweet. Spot. Mitch, our good friend Mitch, he does state again that he played most of the bass on this track, although we forgot the chorus, how to play the chorus, and Gene, after coming back from filming Runaways, I think Runaways was the show or movie, Gene re-recorded the chorus, the bass chorus on this. He also states that he played rhythm on this. Again, who knows? Who fucking knows? But for the sake of it, we'll throw Mitch a bone here. I think it's a fine track though. It stands out a little more because I think there's a lot of duds on here, but it does stand out a little bit. It's an okay closing track. It's not as good as previous closing tracks from Kiss. I mean, especially not as good as a previous closing track on Lick It Up. But that's it. That's Animalize. It's like a Band-Aid. We tried to rip it off as fast as possible. It just lasted a little bit longer than a couple seconds. But
over 30 minutes. To be fair,
I'm surprised we got that long. I thought it was going to be like a 15-minute one. I do want to state though, like, look, of course I love Kiss. I wouldn't be doing this podcast if I didn't love Kiss. But like, I just think that this album is
uninspired.
Uninspired, huge bummer.
Yeah, I mean, like you alluded, I just don't think that their heart's in it, and they're starting to fall back in the old rhythms. Like, we can do what's hip these days, and it's not working out.
And they're at this point where it's like, dude, but you've already established your sound. But they're like, we have to be with the times, and now they realize, no, we don't. Now they're going on with two guys dressed up like the classic members, which again, I've gone on that a million times. I'll say that for when actually we get to that point, because I don't want to keep being boring or repetitive like this album. But again, like I said, it's for me, looking from the outside in, it seems like it's a bad time to be in Kiss. They don't seem to be getting along. The two chief songwriters and core members and original members of the band seem to be starting to fracture big time, because they're a band that always like to say they weren't really friends anyway, which I always hate when they say that, even if it's true. Like I said, I was joking before this, but I actually do kind of believe it as well, that like I would listen to music from the Elder before I listen to this again, because at least music from the Elder has some interesting stuff. At least music from the Elder, I don't, again, I'm not saying music from the Elder now retroactively I think it's a great album because of this album, but if that's kind of the benchmark before, where people were like, what's a piece of shit album? Like, oh, music from the Elder's not that great. But my thing is, like, and Paul said this about music from the Elder, that he said that it's not a bad album, it's a bad Kiss album. I think Animalize is not just a bad Kiss album, it's just a bad album. It's we wouldn't even be talking about this if it wasn't a Kiss album. I mean, maybe, who knows? Maybe people would be like, "Hey, it's a seminal, cock rock album because it's not Kiss, because we know what they sound like before." But again, I think just a dud. Not that great. Not that great. And we got some. So Sam's gonna stick around for a couple episodes. Hopefully, we didn't scare him away with this one.
Yeah, I can't, I don't have any more anecdote. I don't know if my cousin Sam has Crazy Crazy Nights or Hot in the Shade or
Asylum.
I'll ask.
Yeah, I mean, again, but the thing that if you're listening to this and you're going, why are you still doing this? There are some fucking highlights coming up, I swear. Even on albums that I don't necessarily like, and for me, Revenge is a huge thing. And that we're not, I'm not doing reviews on live albums, because we'd be talking about the same tracks over and over again. I kind of touched on a lot. I touched on Alive more than anything else, because Alive is fucking huge. Like, that is so important in history. But I'll start talking about as we get closer to it. It's not going to be for a couple more episodes, but the Kiss Unplugged album, which is really, really fucking cool. If you haven't listened to that, check that out. Watch it too. It's really, I think that's one of my favorite moments in history for a whole bunch of reasons. So yeah, check that out. Have you listened to the new Metallica album, Sam?
I have not.
Oh, okay. Well, we're gonna get something after this. We can listen to it. Get you fucking jamming to it. Something that's fucking fresh.
I don't honestly know what I was doing back there.
Nah, it's whatever. Anyway, Sam, thanks for sticking this out and doing Animalize.
Yeah, and Sam, if my cousin, if you're listening to this, congratulations on not having this as part of your vinyl.
Yeah, I don't think it's one you need, buddy.
Yeah,
I don't think it's any of us need.
Yeah,
but again, kids,
yeah,
friends, countrymen, earthlings, members of Congress,
both houses.
Yeah, whatever. Senate. Remember to rock and roll night and party every day, kids. Have a good night.
Clutch your breast.
Yep.
This has been another Geek Out production. If you enjoyed what you heard, hey, we've got a new commentary every Monday. We've got a special episode every Friday. Of course, there's the usual catching up show every Wednesday. And you get book club episodes just about every Tuesday these days. Thanks for listening.